Hey, what's good, everybody? Hope you guys are all well. I guess this is going to be episode 143 of In a Good Way podcast. I just wanted to talk about, if you read the title, I had made a video about a month ago or so that, and I literally said in the video, I was like, I never thought I'd be making this video. But, I felt like they were showing me a vision of hell. And then if it all of a sudden clicked during this full moon, because even in that video, I'm talking about it felt so horrible. It felt like like those are the kind of things that put someone that's the hard thing about spirituality, right? That put you in a mental institution if you're not aware, right? Because it stayed with me, right? And it was just staying with me, right? That whole energy of what I was feeling when I had that vision of how I seen someone burning next to me, everything, right? And then I seen these demons. And so, what was it? A couple of days ago, I had gone on a hike and I seen in my mind's eye like these goats running up. And I was like, what? Like, there's no goats here. Like, I never seen goats right there or anything, right? So I was like, maybe I tapped into, before my time, there used to be goats up in these hills or something, right? So, anyways, I don't know. I keep hiking maybe a good 3 minutes, maybe longer. Because I remember there was a random, right? A guy on a horse, right? Not that horses never go up there, but, you know, it's not often that I see them. So, I saw the guy on the horse and I was trying to record it, but then, he was kind of far. So then I just turned it off and I continue walking and boom, here's this man coming and he has two goats with him. I was like, what? And I got all happy because I was like, I just seen the goats, right? So it was kind of like a little, I don't know, maybe like a 5 minute premonition, right? About the goats, maybe or 3 to 5 minutes, right? So, anyways, I realized that what I was seeing that I thought was hell, because even that I was like, I've never seen hell. I mean, I had seen the like a few things here and there, but I was like, why now all of a sudden I would be being shown hell, right? And I remember the feeling, right? The feeling was so eerie. And then I realized like it just clicked yesterday, right? Because yesterday I was having a kind of a tough time. And I feel like I was connecting to all that energy, because I'm right here where everything is. From one of the fires, I'm like 30 minutes, right? And so I felt like I was tapping into the energy, right? Of the people suffering, all the chaos going on, right? So I was like, oh wow, now it makes sense. And even in the video, in the description, I put, this is my interpretation might change at some like I don't know, like I guess I already knew because I've never put that under any video, like, oh, this is my interpretation right now, but it might change. Um, and then sure enough, right now I'm like, wow, like seeing someone and we know there were people obviously lost a life, right? And that's why I was seeing it like that, right? Like because it was a premonition of the fire, right? That was coming, right? And even that right next to where and the demons, right? The demons is like, I think it's pretty confident that or we already know basically, right? That they were started purposely, right? Or that's kind of what. And then right here close to where I live, I think 2 days ago they caught someone trying to start a brush fire on purpose at the mountains closer to where I live. So I'm just like, wow, see, so even here, and I don't know what they did to him, but hopefully, to me it's like beat the if you see someone trying to start a fire, like beat the bloop out of them. It's like how I feel, right? Or that, what I would do, I guess, or let me scratch that. Just whatever, stop them, right? I'll just say that, right? Because, you know, whatever reason someone would do that, right? And obviously, I haven't been following along too much because I guess being here, it is like I mean, it's like it's hit me, right? The energy, right? Especially yesterday, I was immobilized, right? I couldn't even leave, right? And it was around the peak of the full moon. And it was like that. Like I was hearing all this stuff and this and that. And I'm sure like it kind of felt like I heard some things where, people take advantage of the full moon and try to send if there's those like, there is, right? There's people that'll send you like negative energy or stuff like that. So I feel like I was able to hear some of that stuff, But it was mostly that, I think, the energy of everything going on, right? So I just kind of stayed till in the afternoon. I went off to and I'm aware of that now, right? In the afternoon, I was able to go to like a yoga class and help me get a little more balanced and everything, right? And by then, yeah, it had pretty much already gone away. I think it was just at the peak of the full moon that everything really just, I was like, man, let me just try to sleep this off, really. I think I did. I think I just took a nap and that was it, right? Um, but like one thing I got into recently was like I've been watching like every day I try to watch one of those this show called Medium, right? And as I started watching it, like I was meant to see it now because as I've been getting more and more accepting of these abilities, right? When I'm watching that show, it makes me feel normal, right? There's so many things in that show that either I've tried to share with people or different things that people didn't get that I'm like, wow, so I think I definitely want to manifest that about being able to interview the woman that was the advisor, right? Alison Dubois, is the character, but it's also the real person. She even has a podcast. So, I definitely like to interview her. So I'll probably reach out and try to interview her because I want to see how much of that stuff, there's so many things in there that I don't think maybe some parts are just made up for the show, but I think a lot of it, So, anyways, I like that about it because there's even that frustration of like, oh, why do I get these visions if I'm not able to stop it, right? Like when she would see things about like people getting hurt or stuff like that, why wasn't she able to help stop it, right? So the same, right? Like even though I did post a video about, I guess just trying to understand more, like with the pandemic, I had a vision about it like 10 years before. I put it in a song, and then later on when everything happened, there were so many things in there that let me know like it was accurate, right? About okay, it was a vision of the pandemic, right? And then even right before, right? I had kind of I don't want to say it was a remote viewing. It felt more like an astral projection because I saw like this spirit body I had during that, right? And I went to where there was this meeting, and that's why when people started calling it the pandemic, I it didn't surprise me because that's what it looked like, right? I saw this like room where there was all these like top like whatever military government looking people that were planning something, right? And then I just kept seeing 666 666 666 and then I think the verification was like when the pandemic started and they were like no more than six people at a time, no, everyone has to be 6 feet apart, everything was like, so I think that was like another validation of that, right? And I did, right? I tried to talk about it. That's how I got my first warning on this channel. I got my first warning on the music channel because I made a video talking about what I was shown. I guess not even to do, but what not to do. If you get what I'm saying. And I try to share it, right? And I just said, hey, this is what I was shown, so this is what I'm doing or not doing, right? During the pandemic, and so I did, right? So sometimes I guess just going forward, but that's the sad part about these fires, right? Like those demons I saw were, I think, a representation of not only the spirits behind it, but like a manifestation, the people that were causing this, or you know what I mean? Like that there was something evil behind it, right? Another, seers and things like that, they've already seen it too, right? So now it all makes sense. It's just crazy that it took like a month to really comprehend what was going on. And I love the fact that I had that video, right? I have it there, right? You could see when it was published. I came across something and it happened right before it happened, like right around Christmas time, right? So I was kind of very bummed out about this situation, right? But it was like someone that I had interviewed, right? Like they wanted me to delete the interview that they had done because I guess they felt they had said something that they were scared probably that, oh, then people are gonna cancel me or something. And it was like, I offered that to them, right? They were really young, right? So I offered that to them, like, hey, this is how you show growth, right? You say, because they wanted to do a new interview, but delete an old one. So I was like, this is how we do it, right? Like, you talk about what you said and how you've changed your views or this and that. So people see growth, right? Like everything's not polished, everything's not perfect, right? That's how. And then I was like, well, you know what? Sorry, I don't delete the interviews, right? And then like they try to threaten me, oh, I'm gonna get a lawyer and this and that. So after that, I was like, you know what? This isn't even just the energy, right? So I was like, I deleted the interview and I blocked, right? I was like, you know what? That's where the road, I could have dealt with something else, right? But someone in a spiritual community trying to threaten me of a lawyer was like the most disgusting thing. And that's kind of one of the things, if you notice, like I kind of haven't been posting as much interviews and this and that because I did. I started coming across people that I didn't feel were authentic or different things like that. And that's never why I wanted, it had nothing to do with so much like the indigenous ways, but in a way it does, right? Because being around that environment, I think helped me be more grounded in my walk towards spirituality, right? It definitely hung that thing of there's a responsibility attached to it as I walk this path, as opposed to just like, oh, let me see how I can make the most money off of this, let me that, right? Or oh, delete this because I have to be perfect. I have to show the world that I'm perfect. And I had a vision. That's the sad part. Right before this person did that, I had a vision of something and I saw like an empty shell, right? And I think that's what it is. Like people want to present this like empty shell, like you're all polished and perfect. And that's not the way that this life is, right? That's not how any of us will grow, right? It reminded me of that, right? Like Jesus when he came out and this preacher taught me that everybody was like, oh, surely nothing good comes from Galilee or something like that because they said where Jesus was coming from. Well, nothing. That's like the hood or something that nothing good comes from over there. So this guy that's supposed to be this prophet or Messiah, how could he be when he came from that, right? But for someone like me, that actually made me like him more, right? Like, oh wow, okay, so Jesus was from the hood, cool. Like no wonder I like this person or whatever. Like, ah, okay. Well, yeah, I mean, I was kind of already hooked on his story once I heard him about flipping over tables and whipping people because he was like, how dare you, right? And that's kind of see this. I'm being faced with that, right? Obviously, I'm not, you know, I'm not at that point. I've been there long enough to where I won't do something like that, right? But it's cool. I'll delete someone's interview and block them, right? That's my way of like flipping over tables and whipping somebody, right? Unless maybe if someone was in front of me, then maybe that's a different story, right? But it's kind of like that, right? There is a disgust to it because that's kind of what I felt. Maybe what Jesus felt when he started flipping over tables and whipping people. He's like, "How dare you make my father's house into this?" That's kind of how I felt when that, right? Like for someone to be like, "I'm gonna get my lawyer with this spiritual walk," right? So oh, but here's where the universe. I know this is long, whatever. It is what it is. Maybe I just needed to get stuff off my chest, right? But it was beautiful because another person I had interviewed recently invited me. They were showing their art, right? And they told me like how they had manifested this, right? The first thing was like the podcast, right? That they had put it out to the universe. They wanted to be interviewed on a podcast, and there I came, like, hey, you want to do my podcast, right? And then they wanted their art displayed in an art thing, right? So that was and they invited me to that because they felt like like it was beautiful, right? And then there was like three artists, right, including the one that invited me. There was such good energy in that place, right? And as I'm getting there, even one of the fires was like right there, and I was like, man, but I don't know, it felt like such a protected space. Like, artistic people are usually tapped in some way, right? So it just felt like the energy was so healing to be in that space for what? I think it was like a 2 hour thing, but I got there a little late. So being even if I was in there for like hour and a half, hour, the space in there felt so healing. Like I felt different leaving, and I was like, wow, this is. And it's because I interviewed someone, right? So the same, even though someone almost made me not ever want to do an interview again, because that's how bad. That's why I maybe now I'm just talking about. I'm not gonna put say their name or nothing like that, right? It's not that serious. I actually felt bad for them, if anything, because of that. Because someone being so young, rather than me being trying to show them like, this is how you should do it. This is the better way to do it, from experience, right? I'm not someone that talks because I haven't experienced these things. I'm trying to show you like this is how you do it, right? Like you have to let people see your growth, right? Like you're not, and that's the sad part about the young generation. I know there is a lot that are very, very wise. Kids are becoming more evolved, younger, right? We're seeing kids born and they got gifts like bam, quick. But then there's that bad part, right? Where the ones that haven't learned yet, right? Like there's so much you learn from life, right? And you can learn from elders, right? I mean, I sure spend my time around elders learning. Um, I wish at one point they would have been able to see like because I always came very humble, right? And I never did anything like that. Rather than that, I just took myself out of the situation, right? I didn't disrespect them when I didn't agree. Instead, I just said, you know what? I guess it's time I go this way, right? I didn't do that kind of thing, right? I didn't like, oh, I'm gonna call my lawyer, something crazy like that, right? I was obviously more respectful. And I guess, see, those are the beautiful things about being brought up in certain ways, right? So I'm grateful that aspect of having a part of my spirituality being molded by being around native people, right? That that follow those ways in a respectful way and those kind of ways, right? That part was beautiful, right? And there's other things in spirituality that I had to go on my own road, right? Obviously. I don't know why I'm sharing that, but maybe someone needs to hear it, right? So, anyways, these arts show how balanced it out, right? From having a bad experience with someone I've interviewed to having the most beautiful experience and being in this area with, and there were people that were telling me, "Oh yeah, I watched the podcast and this and that," right? So they had seen it when I interviewed her, right? The artist and everything. So it was beautiful to have that kind of experience, right? After having but like I said, the other one I had left it last year, right? Because it did happen. Thank God it happened right before the year changed, and then starting the year, I had this good experience, right? So it went into a good thing, right? Um. So, anyways, again, I want to continue doing the podcast with people that you know. Hopefully, I'll handpick them now, right? Because before it was like I was just interviewing more people, or people that are recommended, right? People that are either recommended by someone I know, or like I directly like I read up and I'm like, okay, this person is someone I want to talk to, right? Not just because at one point I think it was just I was getting people from this, they were messaging me like different people, like publicists that were like, oh, you should interview my, I don't know, client's the right word or whatever. And then I was just like, all right, just whoever, boom, all right, let's do it, let's do it, right? That kind of thing. So now, I'll just handpick who I'm gonna interview, right? What else? What else? But yeah, I think back to that thing about that show, it's called Medium. Um, it's wanting to help, right? Like wanting to, and I've seen those, I've seen big ones, right? I've seen, I even feel like they were showing me a message of like, right, because that morning, right, it wasn't even like I did this card reading and I posted it on there about, or I don't know, I was in my head and it was like something about Saints gonna cry for pain or something, and then that day was the shooting in New Orleans, right? And the New Orleans Saints, right? So it was like they show me a lot of these things of big. They do show me like big events, right? They do show me catastrophes. So maybe the best I can do is just put it when I get a message, just put it out there, you know. Maybe eventually, maybe one day people will be like, something I said might help them make a decision in a good way, right? Like maybe one day I give a warning about something. I'll tell you this. Like one of the ones I don't know if I seen it last year or the year before. Even that, right? This guy that had interviewed me, I remember he took down my interview because it didn't have enough views, right? Like it didn't have as much views as the other ones, and I was like, wow, like that's pretty sad that right? I don't know, it rubbed me the wrong way. I was like, I guess they had another channel and then they put the interview over there because they were like, oh yeah, I put it on my other channel and this and that, but they took it down because I guess they're trying to project that, right? Like, oh, all my interviews have thousands and thousands of views, and then that's it, right? So I was like, wow, this is what this modern day spirituality is, right? It's all like it's like everything else, right? That's what kind of was turning me off from that, right? But it's fine, like I don't care, like that's what it is, right? Like it's entertainment at some point, right? And I don't want to, something help me see something, right? To where I just want to continue what I'm doing, posting these messages. Whenever they resonate with someone, they resonate with somebody. And that, right? Because I was almost thinking of like making this channel into like, just readings and stuff. And I see now that there's more in this, right? Like just sharing something and then boom, like even that there's a documentation of premonitions. There's things that I'm posting that do there's for a reason. Everything is for a reason, right? Everything I'm doing is for a reason on here, even when I don't realize it, right? I don't see it. But then like a year, see, like I think someone commented on a video I posted a year ago today, right? Like right before I started making this, I saw it and I was like, oh wow. And they said the timing was perfect, right? So I'm like, okay, wow. A video from a year ago just hit someone today. So that's how it is, right? Who knows when these videos hit somebody, but they're always made for a reason, right? So what else did I want to share? I think that's it. Just that. Those are really oh yeah, well yesterday, let me tell you this and then I'll end it, right? So I don't keep babbling on because, Um yesterday, right? It was so bad that energy, right? And that's important because I remember it was kind of almost that, right? Like I remember one of the first times it hit me, I don't know when. It was just years ago, and I've said this story before, right? But I was in a bar with a friend because they were going through something. They were like, "Hey, you wanna," they wanted to go have a beer, and they knew I didn't drink, so they were like, "I'll treat you to some food or something." I was like, "Yeah, whatever, cool." So we went, and as I'm sitting in the bar, it's like I could hear everyone's thoughts in the bar, but I was overwhelmed at that moment, right? I wasn't used to it. That was at that moment that had never happened before, right? Not like that, or maybe I wasn't aware, right? And it was a super moon. There was this planetary alignment, this and that. So it was like boom. It was like I was being activated on that day. And I just froze, like, I'm texting people like pray for me or whatever. So yesterday would have been one of those moments, it felt like, right? Like luckily I was home when it hit me. It was like during I was feeling it, in the morning. I forgot what I think I even posted like a reading. Maybe that's when I posted the full moon reading. And I was okay, right? And then I was like, all right, I'm gonna go for a hike or something. And I just couldn't get out of my house. And I just stayed and stayed and stayed. Eventually, I was just like, man, what's wrong with me? I'm just feeling weird. I'm feeling like, you know, I mean, there's parts that did feel like a spiritual attack, and other parts felt more like I was just picking up on the energy of what people were going through, right? So I just stayed home, and then I think after the nap and everything, then I made it to a yoga class after, and that was it. I was good after that, right? Came home, showered, everything was good, and that's it. I had this weird dream last night, and it was really weird, right? I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was just for me, but hey, maybe because it's already happening in a way. So I don't know if I was trying to understand what it was, but it was like either I was gonna hook up with this woman or I hooked up with this woman. Cause I don't really remember that part. I just know there was a woman. I don't know. We were about to hook up because I think we were going out to a car or something. But then I felt there was this emptiness about her, right? It was like she had nothing on the inside. And So it was one of two things, right? You know how now they're making all these robot women and stuff like that. It wasn't like someone with, it was either that. It was literally like, or it was like someone that had, even though maybe now they had changed in life, they had been with so many people. It's like there was a part of their soul that wasn't there anymore, right? It was like, because I think people think that kind of stuff doesn't matter, right? Like it's like, hey, it is what it is. But I do feel that, right? Maybe all these people that when people are just like loose with the love or something, I don't know, because it kind of felt like that, right? Maybe it's gonna be like this, right? Until it happens, right? Maybe I'm just gonna meet someone random and I'm just gonna get that feeling. I'm gonna be like, damn, you know? Like maybe it's gonna be just someone I'm gonna meet, like, who knows, right? If this one took a month, then maybe I'm gonna meet somebody. I'm just gonna, but it almost felt like that. Like, man, it was kind of creepy to think like it almost felt like that, like someone that was so void. It almost felt like a robot, right? Like it was weird. Like maybe that's why people aren't even gonna care in the future because they're gonna be like, damn, what? Everyone's gonna be so void of something that is gonna be normal, right? Because they are normalizing everything, right? Everything they desensitize us to stuff and this and that. But that's all I knew, right? It was like it was someone I was meeting, and it kind of felt like that, right? As I'm saying, I'm kind of remembering things. I think it was more like that, like someone that had, they look well put together. They didn't look all beat up or nothing, but it was like something like that. Like I think they had a lot of partners and something. Maybe I was able to see that, like without them telling me, right? Maybe I was able to see that, and so it felt like they were very empty, right, on the inside. So that was really weird, right? So I don't know. Maybe that's a word of caution for somebody. Who knows, right? Maybe if you feel that it's not, maybe that's like something trying to warn you, right? Like, hey, like not you shouldn't exactly put your energy with just anybody, right? Like that I feel like was, obviously on the full moon I always have these big things, right? So maybe that was a big thing. I just, it was a big thing for some reason, right? So what else? What else? I think that's it. I don't know what happened. It's so like an updated video of just like all these things that did I leave anything out or is that it? I don't know. I want to end it there, right? Yeah. Okay, so hope you are all well. Um, yeah, man. So just that it's horrible to think that I think that's kind of what got me in the mood, right? Because it was even weird. This video popped up about this like this, I don't know what. Oh, I think someone sent me something and then that video just started by itself after, and it was like a man talking about all these medical things, right? It was, and somehow I never really watched stuff like that, but I just got hooked on it. And a lot of the bad things that they do, that's what he was trying to say. And he said how, like, even in this country, right, in the US, they really can't pass any law to protect people, right? Because he was talking about that, how the pharmaceuticals and stuff have so much control over the politicians, right? Because they're the ones that give them the money to get elected and this and that, that it's like, it really is pretty much impossible. Like, they're really not going to ever pass, or right now, right? They're really not going to pass laws that protect the people. You know what I mean? Because of that. And he was saying, like, this is a guy that has all the receipts kind of thing, right? So I stayed watching it and I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like, it was probably like a 50-minute video. And I listened to the whole thing because I don't know, for some reason it felt true to my spirit or something, like what he was saying, right? Something like that. So on that note, I think I'll end it there. If I have any, that's funny. It's 111. So 111 is all about like, you know, new starts, new beginnings. So maybe me making this, and 143. 143 is always a number I get shown by the spirit world that back in the days 143 meant I love you, right? So I always feel like when 143, sometimes if I'm having a bad day, I'll see it and I'm like, oh, okay. Or I'm doing something like it'll be random on license plates, on the clock, on different things, right? I'll happen to look at my phone when it's 143 or different things, right? So maybe this is that because, I love humanity really, right? I'm heartbroken when things like that, right? When I see things or people come at me, people come at me sideways when I'm really trying to help, right? That kind of stuff, it's kind of heartbreaking. So maybe this 143 makes sense that this is, I do this because of my love for wanting help, right? That kind of stuff, right? So on that note, I'll end it there. Thank you all. Peace.
Life may move fast, or it may move slow. I met a silly man who said he make it slow. We look up out towards space, or even at the sky. One day pass away, but never look inside. Breathe in, breathe out. Life is a maze, but we'll figure this out. I mean, human beings, I ain't got no doubt.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, sometimes you just feeling it, you know what I'm saying? You just feeling it. And I wanna feel this way forever.